just the sanctuary. How the services work is a timeline of Earth's history. Okay? That's the first thing I want you to remember every night. We're talking about Earth's history. So reality is, when we're dealing with the courtyard, which this is right here, when we're dealing with this part of the piece of furniture, part of the sanctuary, it's telling us a certain time period. When we move to the holy place, which would be the next compartment here in the sanctuary, this would also tell another time. And then, of course, the most holy place is telling yet another time in Earth's history. Now, some of it's history, some of it's taking place right now. When we're through with our series, you will know exactly where we are in time. And there's some things yet to happen in the future. Okay? The courtyard, everything you see being done in the courtyard, all of it is a symbol of what takes place on earth. That's why God gave the earthly sanctuary, was to open our eyes so we can see what takes place in the other part of the sanctuary, which is what represents heaven. So everything up in here, all the priests did inside of here, everything up in here, all the things that were being done represents heaven. Okay? What's taking place in heaven. So the reason that I think it's so exciting what God has done, God gave us a sandbox lesson out in the wilderness. He gave us the sanctuary so that we can see the plan of salvation. When Jesus dies, we know that He goes to heaven. There's several verses we read last night. But we're going to look at this one here. Now the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. This is the answer. This is the end of it. It said, we have such a high priest. The high priest in the earthly sanctuary was doing things, and as he was doing what he was doing, he was acting out the work that the real high priest would be doing in heaven. He says here, we have such a high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of majesty in heaven. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. Where did Jesus go? He died. We see it all in the courtyard, His death, and we see all the things taking place in the courtyard with the lamb being killed. But then on the daily service, the priest would kill the lamb, but he also would move in here and minister among here and here. This was all part of the daily service. So therefore, Jesus goes to heaven after He does the work in the courtyard. Now He has to do the work in this apartment right here. Because the priest told the story. The priest told it day in and day out. Every day the priest would come in here and put oil in and trim the wicks. Every day the priest would add more coals from the altar sacrifice and add some incense. This was what he would do daily, and then one time a week he would be doing something on this piece of furniture right here. So this is part of the daily. So that the priest could not go in to the most holy place till the Day of Atonement. So reality is, we got to find Jesus sitting beside the Father here. We want to find Him here. This is God's throne, right? This is what we normally would say. This is where God is at. This is where He rules the universe. This is His throne. And He sits between the angels. And we're going to read about that tonight. But the same thing what I'm going to say is, that's not where Jesus went. He had to do the work in the holy place like the priest was acting out. Otherwise, we can't follow His footsteps by looking at the earthly sanctuary with what they did. So tonight, we're going to examine where He went to sit. Okay? You notice that it says here, He's a minister of the sanctuary in the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched and not man. It wasn't the one that man pitched, it was one that God had originally made. Christ has not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are a figure of the truth. This one here was made with hands, man's hands. He gave them the exact descriptions, and He gave them the services, everything that was supposed to take place here. That was made by man's hands. But no, we're not talking about that one. That one there just illustrates it was just a figure of the true one. Okay? So we're looking at a miniature of what God has. Okay? Now, there are angels that we talked last night about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost wanting to be a part of our temples. As we looked at the earthly temple, we looked at the heavenly temple. We also looked at us as temples. But the angels, they're all created. Now we'll see that in a moment. But you'll notice that they are angels. In fact, don't you like the thought that you have a guardian angel? I like the thought that angels are around me. Okay? So it's really nice to know we have angels. In fact, many times I've heard people tell me, it must have been your guardian angel. Right? You ever heard? You might have even said it yourself. Some people have been in accidents, and they knew they were going to die. And somebody pulls them out, and they're not there when they go to thank them. They say, it must have been your guardian angel. So we commonly think that we have angels. They're designed to come down and take care of us, to camp around us. They're designed to protect us. Okay? So we have our angels. Looking at Acts chapter 1, verse 9 through 12, you remember the story of Jesus after his death? He's ascending into heaven, and as he's leaving, there's these two men in white apparel right among the crowd, and they said, why stand you gazing, right? They were angels. So reality is sometimes among us there could be angels. The Bible says you may have entertained angels unaware. You see, angels are actively involved with the human race. Okay? Remember what Jesus says? That in Matthew 16, it says, for the Son of Man shall come in his glory, his Father with his angels. You see, the angels are going to be coming down with Jesus to come get us. So we know the angels are going to be... How many angels do you think we have out there? Well, Revelation 5:11 says, and I beheld and I heard. Now he's seen the heavenly sanctuary. He's seen the throne room. And I heard a voice of many angels around about the throne, and the beast and the elders, and the number of them were 10,000 times 10,000 and thousands of thousands. Now calculate that one. How do you figure that one out? How do you know how many thousands of thousands are? In other words, I think John broke down, I don't know how many there are. Look at the next verse. Hebrews, it says, but ye are come into a Mount Zion. That's when you see Mount Zion or Mount Zion, when you see the mount, you're looking at something dealing with God, where God is at. He's on the mountain, right? And so he says, but ye have come to Mount Zion, and to a city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels. There it is. You guys, the number is, there's too many. There's a lot of angels. Okay? Angels are all about us. Do you remember when Jacob was fleeing? Remember the story? He was fleeing, and he stops and he puts this rock down for a pillow. And as he's sleeping, he dreams, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached into heaven. So the idea is he sees there's a ladder upon this earth, and the ladder goes all the way to heaven, and behold, the angels of God ascending and descending. It was almost like God opened his eyes so that he can see the angels running up and down the stairway from heaven to this earth. Okay? So the idea that I want you to really picture, the angels are active in the heaven, the sanctuary, and they're active on this earth. The angels, you will see them in the sanctuary. In fact, in Exodus 26, verse 1, it says, moreover, thou shalt make a tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, blue, purple, scarlet, with cherubims. Now the term cherubims is more than one angel. Cherub is one angel. But if you have cherubim, it's more than one angel. Okay? So we have the cherub of cunning work shalt thou make. So the idea is, if you read about this thing, the ceiling that went across the top of the 45 foot would be mixed with all these colors, but then they would have angels, like you see on the veil here, woven on there, running up and down. So remember, this is a picture. So you see the angels scattered through there, and you can imagine that's representing the angels flowing through the sanctuary, in and out of the sanctuary. So the angels were placed there so we could see their activity in the sanctuary. You'll notice here, it talks about the veil in verse 31. And thou shalt make a veil, the same thing, of blue, purple, scarlet, fine twined linen, with cunning work, with cherubims shall it be made. So you see the cherubims that are right here. They are in the sanctuary, and you'll notice there's two cherubims in particular we're going to focus on for just a moment. Okay? It says, and thou shalt make two cherubims of gold of beaten work, shalt thou make them in the two ends of the mercy seat. So the mercy seat, we know where that is. We're dealing with the Ark of the Covenant now. And you notice that we have two angels upon the mercy seat. Okay? It was described to do so. Okay? Going on, it says, and the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high and cover the mercy seat. So their wings are stretched out and they're covering the mercy seat. So these angels are considered to be covering cherubs. They're covering the mercy seat. In Exodus verse 25, verse 21, it says, and thou shalt put the mercy seat above the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. Now you remember what that was? Remember, God called Moses up on the mountain, and after he spoke the Ten Commandments in Exodus 20, he calls them up and he gives them 2 tables of stone. That's the testimony, okay? That's why it's called the Ark of the Testimony, okay? So now you have the Ark of the Testimony. Down below is where the law was to be placed. There was to be a mercy seat, and then the angels was to be on top of it. This is what it says. And there will I meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims which are upon the Ark of the Testimony. So that's where you get the idea that's God's throne. So naturally, when Jesus dies and he goes to heaven to sit beside the Father, naturally we would think that's where he went. So I'm going to show you how we can determine exactly where he went. And I'm going to share with you, it had to be in this room because we know that's what they were doing in the earthly sanctuary. If what they were doing in the earthly sanctuary doesn't accurately predict what Christ is going to do, how can we follow it? We have to have something that's firm and true, and that's what the sanctuary is. The terms that are used, and he says, make the sanctuary after the pattern that I showed you on the mountain. He says it over and over again, make it exactly. The only thing that changed when he changed from one sanctuary to the next, you'll notice this one's portable. This one's permanent. This one here is a lot smaller than this one here. This one's 3 times taller than the one that Moses built. But the services are all the same. The furniture is the same. Because that's the story that we're going to learn about the plan of salvation. So we have to find Jesus here. Otherwise, what they were acting out upon this earth was of no avail. In other words, what they did, we can't follow him if he went all the way into there, because the high priest couldn't go in there till the Day of Atonement. It's not that God only had power enough to save them only one day a year. No, he's saying do that because that's what Jesus is going to do. So that's why I'm going to examine this room with you tonight. Now, I'm going to ultimately, we talked about angels. In the Scriptures, we're going to find that when you see the term stars, when you see stars written in prophecy, okay, it's a symbol of angels. Now we're going to see a text to support this. This was found in Revelation chapter 1, verse 20. It says, the mystery of the 7 stars, which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the angels. You see? The 7 stars are the angels to the 7 churches. So what we can see now is, we can look now at the war that begins, and when we see the term stars, we're knowing it involves angels. Okay? So let's get started, all right? There's 3 stories that tell the same thing. Now you'll notice now what God does. God gives a little information in one story. Then you find the similarities in another story, but you see he expands on it. Doesn't change the other story. He's just giving you a little more information in the story. Well, we're going to start on this one here. This one's found in Revelation. Okay? Now, look at this one here. Okay? Now, there's a couple of things that we're not going to understand at first, but that's okay. Let's just get started together. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon. Okay? Now, the red dragon is